Welcome back to Sharing Your Stories. This time I'm bringing you a very special person, someone that I met in El Salvador almost 8 years ago. He's the greatest genius in JavaScript I have ever met. But more than that, he is a person that breaks any stereotype that you could imagine. He is Adiel Hercules, someone that you could consider him, as I said, a JavaScript genius. But what is the most curious about this? Because when you think about software development, is that everyone is a geeky and things like that. He's a self-taught developer, and he moved from El Salvador to the Netherlands. And you say, but that's something that is not so strange. Let me tell you, his education is only self-taught. He didn't go exactly to the university to learn these tricks. And as I said, he's the greatest genius I have met in JavaScript. But it's more important that he share his story. And maybe Adiel, maybe you can tell us a little bit about you and why you decided to become a developer.
Sure. First of all, thanks for the invitation, Federico, and thanks for the compliments. um, so I am Adiel Hercules. I am have around 10 years of experience working as a front-end developer. Um, the beginning uh, it was just that I saw my sister when she was studying system an IT career, and I saw her trying to develop a video game. And since then, I just thought like, hey, that's what I want to do, because to me it was like a revelation to see how a lot of symbols and characters can do like amazing things. So that's why I basically that's one when I decided to that's what I wanted. I started even before going to high school to learn uh, like everything that I could. It was tough times because at least in El Salvador, and especially in a very small town like where I was living, uh, nobody had a computer or access to internet. So what I was doing is basically visiting the internet cafes and just like paying for hours and being there, sit down, just trying to learn new things. And actually, that's a very not well known fact is that when I started, I actually started with the Lua program language, which is very widely used for game development today. But then I just I started with HTML, with the basics. When I was in, I think it was on ninth grade, something like that, and that's when I discovered that what I really wanted to do in this area was being a front-end developer, because it was not just about writing some code, but also to have the responsibility to create the user interfaces, that whatever the visuals that the user uh, uh, um, sees in any web application or mobile applications. Um, and since then, I just spent hours and hours trying to learn um, different things every time. I remember when I was in high school, uh, I reached out to my teacher and asked him if he could teach me, for example, CSS. And he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I don't really know." So, okay, it's pretty hard if you don't have a computer, you don't have people who knows, and you don't have any contacts. So, it was like around 2011, and it's hard to find a way on how to start uh, in this area. But I managed, and I learned uh, CSS, PHP, and then JavaScript, and that's how my journey started back then.
And it's something that we can show that perseverance is the key in this area. But my concern, or like, let's say, how did you discover that you needed to learn CSS, PHP, JavaScript, HTML? Because as you said, you went to the cyber cafes, but how did you discover the details or the things that you needed to learn?
Okay. Uh, I don't know. I guess most of the time was because of experimentation. I am a person that I am always trying to build things just because I really want to understand how they work. Like, for example, if I remember when I first heard from Facebook that this social network, Facebook, I started to think, hey, how does this thing work? And also I think I was lucky enough to find a friend of mine. I met this guy who was kind of a geek at the time. He was like the owner of a cyber cafe, and he knew a couple of tricks. For example, I was very basic at HTML, and I was able to write some CSS, but a very a low level, like just inline styles. That's like very easy because you can find that when you are starting. But then he somehow showed me that there was this beautiful browser back then, Opera. I guess you know it, but um, at that time, the browsers were not that powerful and not they didn't provide like any tools for development. But he somehow knew that Opera had this amazing tool, which back then was called Firefly, which was the very beginning of the web inspectors. So he showed me how this thing worked and how you could inspect these elements. And then I started to realize that writing just in CSS was not enough. That because with this tool you could see like these uh, CSS files and all of these rules. That's when I discovered that I knew and I had to learn this thing. Um, and how I learned is basically the same, just experimenting and trying to find resources. It was very hard at the beginning because again I didn't have like anybody who knew about it. I didn't know like about any websites, or I didn't know even how to search properly for these kind of things at that time. But yeah, just being perseverant and trying to experiment. And yeah.
And let's say, what was your main, let's say, motivation that you became a front-end developer, not a back-end developer? To clarify this for the people who doesn't know, the front developers are the people who create what you see, and the back-end developers are the people who does the dark magic behind the screens, that the people that you, the things that you don't see. But because the majority of people that I know, they are back-end developers. I know a few front-end developers, and as I said, for me, Adiel is the greatest genius I have met in this area. Is someone that can build anything that I can imagine, and even better than I could even think how to do it.
Yeah. Thanks. At that time, I only knew a little bit about PHP, and I knew already how everything works on the server side. Um, I think I at that time I didn't hear any like a differentiation between back and front end. I think it was later that I just started to see this differentiation. It was like just a webmaster or a web developer. It was like just a single word. Uh, but how I discovered is that basically what makes me excited when I am writing any application is to to write something that looks good, because I don't know, I am like a very detail oriented. I really like designs, and that's I think what motivates me. I really want to give users something that they can really enjoy using. Because I was seeing a lot of websites, even the websites from the government, the service providers, whatever, and the websites were like a total mess. I mean, they could provide some information, useful information, but how they looked back then, it was just ugly, you know. And I wanted to change that.
And now that you have been moving forward, what do you think has been the greatest, how to call it, the greatest thing that made you become better? What was the secret besides this perseverance that helped you to become who you are today, Adiel?
Um, I don't know. I think something I really enjoy is having challenges. Um, that is something that I think helps me a lot. I am not the kind of a guy that can work in something like for 10 years in the same thing. I can just not do that. I really, I'm looking for something new every time because I think that's the only way you can really learn something new. Um, in fact, I have been working with uh, uh, for different companies, not so a lot of clients, and the only reason I have been switching jobs is not because of money. And my motivation has been always just learning things, and I think the only way to learn new things is getting to work with new projects, new challenges, and with new people, because there is always other people that know more about anything than you, and that you can learn from.
I really like that you share, Adiel, that is called about upskilling and reskilling. In our times, people are always afraid of that thing, of learning something new, learning, changing areas, changing sectors. I'm with you with that because I'm constantly learning completely different things. And now I would like that you could share with the people, why do you think it's important to do that? Because trust me, people are always afraid of changes. And you are the perfect example that learning other things is what I'm sure allowed you to come to the Netherlands.
Indeed. I guess if I never got to learn something new, I think I will never land a job like this in the Netherlands. It's very important because you know, technology is always changing, and if you stay with the same thing forever, there is a time that someone is going to replace you. It's just like that, and it could be that it's not other person, but also technology itself, because things are getting just smarter, you know. And so I think that's the reason you need to really think on learning new things and don't be afraid. And I know this is very hard, and it's really easy just to stay in your comfort zone, but you need to just to challenge yourself. Yeah, and yeah, be open.
Now, if we could go back in time, Adiel, let's say 10 years ago, what would you advise to yourself? What would be your own advice to you?
Okay, I think my biggest advice would be just go to the university. I know this is I have made to this country with my knowledge and the way I done it with such stuff and that. But the thing is, I think you have heard from other people that does something similar. That whenever you learn yourself something, you will have to work harder than anyone that goes to university. And it's because university will maybe will not teach you like specific technologies or specific stacks or area, but will teach you very solid fundamentals on math and logic and all of those things. If you don't have it and you don't go to university, it's going to be very, very hard for you to find a way in this industry. I think that's the only thing that I would change.
And what do you think has been the most challenging experience you have faced in this transition in your life to become who you are? What was the most challenging part? Or when you maybe doubt even to turn back and do something different? Because many people have doubts, especially when they are doing changes.
I think I always have a doubt when I get a new opportunity, but I don't know. Sorry, Farid, could you repeat the question?
The thing is, Adiel, because when we have changes, as you have experienced, sometimes we have doubts. Even in my case, when I moved to Spain, I moved to a completely different area and I had doubts about if I will be able to move forward.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that in some of the changes in your life, you experience something similar, that you have some doubts about yourself. And how did you manage that? And what was that experience that pushed you to, okay, I still need to move forward, even if the things are really dark?
Mhm. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I always being afraid of changes. That's something you will always feel. Uh, but I was like, I could stay here working with the same thing, working in this company that gives me this stable job, a stable life, and doing the same thing. I don't know for how long, or I could try this new opportunity that I am being given at this point and actually grow, because I think that's the most important thing that you are going to get from any new experience. Growth as a person, growth as a professional. And I know it's really hard, especially when you have family, for example, to do hard decisions. I have made this like a couple of times when changing to new jobs, but the hardest time was when deciding coming from El Salvador to Netherlands, because it's a different country that's actually very, very far from my country, and I have nothing here. I probably have some knowledge. I mean, some people that I know here, but I don't have any family that. What if I lost my job? You might think. Uh, uh, what if I cannot find any other job after that? And what if I lose my status and I get deported to my country? You know, those are thoughts that would make you think if it's worth it. But I think at the end you need to think what are you really looking for in your life, and what is your goal, what are your dreams, and if you think that not taking this decision will it make you still achieve your dreams or your goals, well, I guess it's fine. But in my case, I think it's because I really had personal and professional uh, uh, reasons. I mean, I have uh, to make this change, because otherwise it would be just harder for me. I really wanted to think about my family. I right now I am married, but sometime I will have some chats, you know, and I don't think that staying in my country, I love my country, but I don't think that's what I wanted for them, to be in a country like, most of the countries in Latin America have their problems, but in our country is very hard to live without fear because of all the violence that you see every day. And my wife was being victim of that as well, and I didn't want that for either she or any of my child. So I think that's when you really need to be strong and make the decisions that you need to make to really make a change in your life.
Thank you very much for Adiel for all your worthy lessons and wisdom that you have shared with us. Do you have any final advice or something that you would like to share with the audience?
Yes, never give up. I think life's not easy, and if you want to really achieve something, and especially in this industry, you really need to be strong and begin to and open to learn new things and take challenges. Don't be afraid of changing jobs. If you have to change jobs twice a year, it doesn't matter. What you really have to do is keep in mind what's your goal and where you want to be in 5, 10 years. Really keep that in mind, because otherwise you will be staying the same way. And if you really want changes in your life, you need to take actions. Okay.
Thank you very much, Adiel, and hopefully all your valuable wisdom and lessons will help and empower other people. Because as I said, for me, you are a great example of someone that accomplished something that for many people seems impossible, but you transform that impossible thing into something possible.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Corey.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye.